All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with proof that I actually turn views into leads, because I believe in, if I'm gonna learn from somebody, I wanna learn from somebody who's actually getting the results, all right? So let's go ahead and look at these results. So what I've done here is I got these red spots. They pretty much blocking out personal information of the leads that I have. And then this right here, as you can see, this is somebody's email that's right here. So I just want to block that out, all right? All right, so let's take a look, right? So you can see here it says new contact alert, pretty much all the way down, right? Now I want you to look at this, right? So this is coming in 2024, right? So you can see all those 2024s. And if I was able to go all the way down and get like a huge screenshot, then you would see that I've been generating leads with this video literally the entire year of 2024. But what's even better than that is I'm gonna show you when I first started this campaign, so you can see how long I've been generating leads for this specific video, which I'm also going to show you. All right, so now I'm gonna go over here to another screenshot and I'm gonna pull this one up. All right, so now look at the year on this, right? So you can see it says 2021. So this video that I'm about to show you, which also holds really good audience retention, has been generating leads for over 4 years. Right, so I want you to think about that. So you're gonna get some real powerful information in this video, so you definitely want to keep watching. All right, so let me move this over and show you when I actually started. So if you see here, this first one was me, right? And I'll just share with you a real quick tip. You always want to test your own marketing. So once you build out your funnel and your capture page, always do testing first. So this first lead, which was on the 13th of April in 2021, I released the video April 15th. So 2 days later, I released the video. And you can see 5 days after that, I had my first lead. So you can see I generated 1 lead in that day. But I want to share with you something. So let me actually move me back over here to this corner. But if you look right here, you'll notice this one has no number by it. So that just means that I generated 1 lead in a day. But if you look right here, this one has 5. So I generated 5 leads that day, 2 leads that day, 4 leads that day, 16 leads this day, 34 leads that day. And this is all coming from the video that I'm about to show you, right? And then 62 leads in a day, and then 15 leads for that specific day right there, right? So you can see this video is generating a ton of leads, all right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at which video that was. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the results for this, right? So I screenshot it inside of the YouTube studio. And as you can see right here, this video, which is almost 10 minutes long, held people for 32.8% of the way for the entire time that this video has been out. So you can see up here, April 15, 2021, all the way to April 3rd, 2025. So over that entire time, it has held good audience retention, which is usually 30% or up, especially for a video that is as long as 10 minutes long. I mean, it's 9 minutes and 22 seconds, but we're pushing 10 minutes, which is kind of long, right? Now, another thing that I like to look at is not just the regular audience retention. I look at compared to other videos of the same length. All right, so if you look here, compared to other videos, this video is doing exceptionally well. It's above average, and in some cases right here, you can see it says high, right? So this is the actual one. Now, I put these because I know that this is above average, right? And then you see it went from above average, then it went high, and that's almost a minute in. And then you can see here above average, it kind of fell again. And then by the time we get to almost 4 minutes into the video, it's kind of like at an average state. Remember, this is for compared to other videos of the same length, all right, which is extremely valuable as well. And then you can see it goes back to above average, and that's almost 6 minutes in or 5 minutes in. And then by the time we get like to six minutes, it pretty much stays at average the entire time, pretty much once we get to the end, right? So this is doing good on both accounts, all right? Now, if you look here, this is the chart, right? So it basically says high, average, and low. All right, so that's how I'm able to know, like, what's going on with the audience retention for these. So you can see this video still continues to generate leads, and I have other videos that do the exact same thing. So what I recommend is that you really pay attention in this video, take notes, because what you're going to learn in this video is something that's going to be truly valuable, and it's going to generate you a massive amount of leads. All right, so step number 1 is to create lead magnets that viewers actually want. And so how do you actually do that, right? So if you look at what I did, I looked at what the title for my video was, and then I said, okay, what's the next natural thing that I should recommend to them? Well, in my case, since I was talking about writing YouTube descriptions, then it makes sense that I give them a YouTube description template, something that's based around my title. So you want to think about it in that same way. Now, there are cases where, you have a video on this, but something might come up in the video where it makes sense to give that call to action. But I'm telling you, where you have your highest conversion rate, like on your capture pages, is going to be when it's based around the video topic itself. As you can see from what I showed you earlier with all the leads that I generated just from that video as a whole. All right. So now let's go down to the naming. All right. So action-based naming. So what is that? So when they look at your lead magnet's name or they hear it, it has to be something where they feel like it's beneficial. You know what I mean? Like if they hear it, it sounds like, a tool that's going to save them a lot of time, or like a shortcut or something like that. That's what I mean by action-based naming. So I got a couple examples here. So if you see here, we got the client attracting video title vault. All right. So what do they see when they look at that? Right. So the client attracting video title vault. So these aren't just like basic titles. These are titles that are going to help them pull in their right target audience, right? Which is going to be a lot more important to that type of person. You see what I mean? So then over here, we got a real basic one, which is free guide on content strategy. That doesn't excite me. Like when I hear that, it's kind of boring versus this right here or another, action-based name. So just keep that in mind, when you're, coming up with your name. All right, so another thing, you want to make sure that it's fast to consume and instantly valuable, okay? So can they get a quick win from this? Can they watch your video, download that lead magnet, whether it's an ebook, Google Doc, mini course, whatever it is, and can they go and get a quick win from what you just gave them, right? Or is it going to take a massive amount of time? Right. And that's the thing you want to think about, too. How can you get them a quick win so then they kind of go through the trust process? Right. And as you might be aware, we're in a big trust recession at this particular time. Right. It's getting harder and harder for people to trust you. So the way that you get people to trust you is you actually continue to deliver value and be a man or a woman of your word. All right. All right. So now let's move on to step number 2. So step number 2 is you're going to place your CTA where they're warm, not checked out. So typically most people are going to, stick around for the earlier parts of your video, but they're not really going to make it to the end, right? Not everybody's going to make it. So since we understand that not everybody's going to make it, we got to find the best possible spot in order to give the call to action for our lead magnet, right? So what you want to do is you want to look at the right after a key value moment. Okay, so I call this like the trust moment. So I'll give you a quick example. Let's say I got a video and I'm sharing with people 5 tips, right? So every tip that I give, I'm building up the value, right? I'm building up the value. I'm building up the trust. So I gave them tip number 1. Okay, I hit the first trust checkpoint. Then I gave them tip number 2, the second trust checkpoint. And this got to be some good stuff, right? You can't give them no junk. And then by the time I hit the third, the third tip, now it's like, oh, okay, it's at the highest point of trust, right? So once I'm there, that's where I want to give my CTA. Okay, so now we're gonna get into like, what you actually want to do to increase your conversion a lot more. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go down. Because at this point you hit the highest point of trust. So now what you want to do is you want to briefly explain the benefit of the lead magnet. So don't just give a CTA and say click the link down below. No, give a CTA that has a benefit behind it. All right. So I'm gonna give you an example. So if you want 100 plug and play video frameworks like this, I created a free vault to make content planning 10 times easier. So I gave the benefit behind it. So now they're not just clicking the link and they don't have a reason to click the link, right? You got to give them a reason to do so. All right. Now, another thing is, and this is an extremely important one. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do this. So we're not gonna even have to look at all of this because, like I said, this is something that I actually do. So I'm gonna take you over here to a lead magnet of mine, right? So you can see right here, it says get access to the free client attracting video title vault. Okay, so if we go back to the Google Doc, it says show the capture page or the web page that you want them to go. So boom, you at the highest trust point. You then gave a benefit for why they need the lead magnet in the first place. And then when you give the CTA and you say, hey, go ahead and click the link, or you give your benefit, Then what you want to do, so that there's no confusion and there's no like surprise, whether they probably wondering like, okay, when I click this link, what pages am I going to go to? Well, we eliminate that. We actually take them over to the page while we're in the video, and we say, hey, you want to go over to this page. So once you click the link, this is the page you're going to go to. And then when they get over here, they're going to see, oh, okay, I get 100 plug and play title frameworks that turn views into leads and clients. And then I say, all right, so what you're going to do is you're going to hit, give me my title frameworks now. You're going to put your email in just like this, and then you're going to hit submit. And when you do that, you're going to get an email directly, email directly over to you. And by the way, if you actually want to get access to those 100 plug and play title frameworks that will allow you to tailor your titles to attract your target audience, then go ahead and use that first link down below in the description. That'll give you instant access to the vault, and then you can take those and save a massive amount of time in content planning. Now let's get back to the video. So notice what I did there is I've boosted up the trust even more. I've eliminated surprise or confusion. And then on top of that, now they can see the page, right? Which is going to increase the conversion more. And then when they put their email in, they know right now that they're about to get an email because I told them so. So you want to be clear with your instructions. All right. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and skip past that because that was all of this right here. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna go to step number 3, which is you're gonna lock in the lead mid-video, then serve the algorithm. So what am I saying, right? So we talked about the highest trust point. So that's where we give the CTA for our lead magnet, right? But we also have to be thinking about the algorithm, because the thing that's very, very important for YouTube is how long people stay on their platform. So we have to, look at, okay, how can we benefit from getting our leads? Yes, but also keeping them on a platform so our channel can continue to grow, so we get the benefit of both, right? So what we want to do is we want to teach, we want to give a CTA, and then we want to teach more. So at the highest trust moment, we give it, and then we continue teaching. So the example earlier was 5 tips. So after I give tip number 3, then I continue without spending a whole lot of time giving that call to action, right? So then I get to tip number 5, and then we get to the end of the video and I give like a CTA to go watch another video. What I'm doing is I'm increasing the total session duration, right? So most people don't really know that you still benefit because you started a session. Let's say somebody watches a session. You start the session, they watch your video, and then they stay on YouTube, not even watching the rest of, not even continuing to watch your own videos. You get benefit for total session duration as well. So if they go and they watch your video and then they continue to stay on YouTube, you're going to get massive benefit from that. All right. So I know I just kind of went deep into a lot of stuff that maybe you might not have known. And if you didn't know, let me know down below. I'm glad to always share some valuable information, because at the end of the day, like, if you see that, what I'm telling you is beneficial, then what does that do? That builds the trust, right? And that's going to be important for you to do for your audience as well. All right. And so pretty much I already broke all of this down, right? So you're saving the algorithm friendly one for the end so you can keep people on the platform, because guess what? You've already generated the lead earlier on in the video where you're going to have most of your audience staying anyway, because not everybody is going to wait until the end of the video. They're not going to make it, right? So keep that in mind. Now, I got a little pro tip for you. So this is basically just saying when your CTA enhances the value instead of interrupting it, your retention holds and your funnel fills, just like I showed you in the beginning of the video with all the leads that I was generating.